Hi guys, and welcome back to another video, or welcome if this is your first time here. My name is Dana. I'm a mama to 4, and in today's video I'm going to be sharing with you guys kind of my end of year review on how we enjoyed the Christian Light Education Learning to Read program. We officially finished all 10 light units, so for today's video I'm going to be giving you just a brief rundown on how we enjoyed it overall, some mistakes I made, and now that we have completed this from cover to cover pretty much, I'm also going to be sharing with you whether or not the actual teacher's guide was a necessity. And just as a heads up and as a disclaimer, when I bought this at the very beginning, I kind of did a flip through of it online, and then when I got it to my home, I flipped through it and I was like, oh, okay, I don't need the teacher's manual. I think I can cover this by myself. And then after actually getting this and flipping through it, I realized some important things that were missing from this to go along with this, so to speak. So I'm going to be sharing with you what those are, so then you can make the judgment on whether or not this is necessary for you, your teaching style, learning styles, and your family. So we're going to be flipping through this as well. And then I'm also going to give just a quick flip through on a couple of these light units so you can also see how this flows together with the primers, the readers, and everything that goes along with it. But with all of that being said, let's finally go ahead and jump into today's video. So, Christian Light Education's Learning to Read. I thoroughly loved this curriculum, and again, we'll get into kind of what I was missing without having this, but I really thoroughly enjoyed doing this curriculum with my little ones. It is such a sound one. If you're new here, one of the reasons why I chose this to begin with was the fact that it was so open and go. It was literally grab the book, open, and get straight to the concept, straight to the point, and then move on with the day. There was no extra like fluff. It was just quite literally straight to the point, and yes, it was amazing. So when you first start the lessons, and we're going to get through this in the flip through as well, but when you first start this program, it starts out very, very gentle, extremely gentle. You're talking just basic letter sounds, a couple sight words here and there, just a wonderful approach. One of my favorite things about this curriculum as well, and I've shared this in all my CLE type related content, but that is actually the fact that they do divide learning to read up into 10 different light units. So each light unit is just one thin little book, and I love this because I think it provides a really great opportunity for the kids to just be encouraged, and for you as a parent or teacher to also encourage the child, because every time they get to open a new light unit, it's always so exciting for my kiddos, or it has been so exciting for them, I should say, because it's almost one of those things where it's like they feel the sense of accomplishment. They put the old light unit away, they get a new one, and you could actually visually see the progress and everything like that. So I actually really do enjoy the fact that they divide this up into 10 small light units. Another couple of favorite things of mine when it comes to the Learning to Read curriculum, one is that I actually do incorporate quite a bit of handwriting practice. Sorry for the background noise, but my little ones are back here. But they actually do incorporate a lot of handwriting practice, so you're not actually having to buy an extra handwriting tablet or anything like that, which I really appreciate and enjoy. Another thing that I like, and I have shared this before on my channel, is that they have a lot of actual reading practice. So at the end of every lesson, you actually have a story or sentences that you will read. And I love that they do this because you're not having to buy a separate reader. Now they do have primers that go along with that, and I do utilize those for this curriculum, but for the most part, every single lesson will have an actual story, so they're actually really practicing the sight words that they have learned that day. They're practicing new concepts that they've learned. So it is not one of those things where you just learn a sight word and then you move on to another lesson and then you don't have practice. So every single day you are going to be given the opportunity to actually practice what you are learning, and I love that about this curriculum. I really do. So overall, it was a very thorough and sound reading program. We thoroughly enjoyed it. And I think honestly, one of the most telling things when it comes to a curriculum is really seeing the growth of your child and just seeing how far he has come. And also, if you're new here, I actually did go ahead and put my kindergartner, soon to be first grader, into this program because I had also shared that our previous curriculums weren't working out, and she is on light unit 103 right now and is absolutely loving it and thriving with it. I love this for teaching reading. It is amazing. So with this this curriculum, it comes with the 10 different light units. It also comes with 2 of the teacher manuals, and I do like that you can have the option to buy each thing separately as well as the teacher manuals. So you will have 2 different manuals. This one here is for light units 101 through 105. Then I also have the other one for 106 through 110. Like I said, did not get these the first time I went through it, but I did get them for the second time, mostly out of curiosity because I wanted to see what I was missing or doing incorrectly, and I was really glad that I picked these up. So with this and the teacher manuals, I also picked up the 4 primers when I did it with my son, so I'll be utilizing those again for the second time. So that's not something I actually have to purchase right now, which is great. And the things that I bought for my son when we did it that I will not have to purchase again, I also have the sight word flashcards and the phonics flashcards, which we did utilize in our home. So a few cons that I wanted to mention when it comes to this curriculum. Again, this is kind of nitpicky to the point where it's not a huge necessity. Like for me, it wouldn't make or break the curriculum. But I did want to mention that in the little years, this curriculum specifically can be pretty workbook heavy. So if your little ones don't love the whole workbook style, they might not actually like this. While I think it is a very sound beginning approach to reading, and really no matter what reading curriculum you choose, it might be a little bit workbook heavy depending really when you get into the like nitty gritty of like how to read and language arts and things like that. But these lessons can be very, very long. So my advice, and this is actually something that we have done personally, is if the lessons are long, I'll cross out some of the problems. I've shared that many times before. So for example, on this page, when they're having to write the beginning letter sounds, I might just take a pencil, cross out the top 2 lines, and let them do the bottom 2. Especially if they already have the concept down and mastered. Same with handwriting. Like if their handwriting is very, very good and they don't need extra practice with maybe letter K's or these words down here, then we will skip that and it's totally fine just to shorten the lessons because they can be long. As you'll see, we'll get into the flip through for the little years. Now, when the lessons first start, like in Light Unit 101, they're actually not that bad. But as you do continue to go on, each of them are about 5 or 6 pages long, depending on the day and the lesson, of course. So I just want to throw that out there that it can be pretty intensive for the little years, so don't feel bad if you do need to split up the lessons into 2 days, and definitely don't feel bad if you don't finish it on time. It's a very gentle curriculum, but we actually did not do a full lesson every single day, so for us, we really did do a more gentle approach with it. But I wanted to mention that. The other con, and again, this is a nitpicky thing, it's not really something that would make or break it for me, and that is that this is not one of those bright, colorful workbooks that you might see in either The Good and Beautiful or a lot of other different language arts curriculums that will be like brightly colorful and art. I know, and art focused and things like that. Hello. So if your student is also more of a visual learner, then they might not like this as well. So I wanted to mention those in case that will help you decide whether or not your child will like this. But yeah, I think I covered the basics as far as how much we liked it, some of the pros and cons, and then we'll also get into more of that here as we get into the flip through. So these are some of the primers that will go with the Learning to Read curriculum from Christian Light Education. So we have the 3 primers. There's actually 4 altogether. The other one is in my daughter's desk right now. So with the 3 primers, the other optional things that you can get are the phonics flashcards. Now I actually did love these and I did utilize these in our home. I honestly just found them to be very, very helpful, and they also have more practice. So for example, the double consonant endings here, you flip it over and then you have your double consonant blend endings. So there's a lot of extra practice on here. And one of the things I like about this is you can use these not just for the Learning to Read program, but you can also use them for both reading 1 and 2. So if you purchase them for the first year here, you can use them for a couple of years. So to me, it was worth the investment of originally buying those. So this is the phonics flashcards. The second optional thing is the Learning to Read sight word flashcards. And these were also beneficial to us. I really liked how they incorporated the picture. And then on the back, there's actually a sentence that you can use the sight word in a sentence and read it to the child so they can kind of hear how that would look like in a sentence. Or not necessarily look like, but sound like in a sentence. So these are the sight word flashcards. Again, it was worth purchasing for the first year because now we've used them for a couple of years now and will have used them for a total of 3 years by the time we're done with the actual reading. And then I also have the Learning to Read the actual word flashcards, and these will go along with the actual curriculum very, very beautifully. This is one of those things that out of all 3 of these, I would probably buy these ones because these are actually going to be kind of referenced in the actual textbook. But these are all kind of, they're sight words. In this curriculum, any words that have like an underline, they're going to be the sight words. And then it's incorporating just some like CBC words when you're first starting out and simple things like that. So the next thing I'm going to show you is a little bit of the teacher's guide, the 101 through 105, and then a few of the units so you get an idea of really what it looks like. But I have the 101 light unit, and one of the things that I do thoroughly love about this program is really just how simple and sweet and gentle it starts out. It honestly really does just start out so simple. It starts out with listening skills, your basic writing skills, your basic handwriting practice, your basic letter sounds, and it's just a very gentle approach to beginning reading. There's a lot of activities to keep the kiddos engaged. Now to start out with, the lessons really aren't that intensive. As you can tell, it's just your coloring page, your story, the actual how the story went, handwriting practice, and then writing the beginning letter sounds, your sight words, and the like connect the dot activity down here, something that's different on the line, and that would be a whole lesson. So it starts out very gently, and I love that. Is one of her new light units, but once you get to halfway through, you're going to get to new sounds, you're going to get to double endings, some more sight words, more handwriting practice, and then once you get to this point, you're really going to be doing a lot more practice reading full sentences, like actual sentences. And this is one thing I love, and I was mentioning this when I was talking to you earlier about it, and that is that every single lesson is going to have an actual story for you to practice with the new sight word that you learned for that day. So the sight word was, you have A, yellow, was very good. So it gives a lot of practice for really just learning the new concept for the day, and I love that. Again, you're incorporating hand practice every day as well. I love that they do this. It gives them not only reading practice, it gives them handwriting practice. And again, with this as well, they're having to write out the full words, match them with a picture. And I love how this slowly builds, whereas in every page is going to be slightly different. They're going to be doing things differently throughout the days, but for the most part, it just builds so beautifully, and I love it. So that is what it's going to look like halfway through. So this is actually my son's. He just finished this. This is the light unit 110, and this is what he just finished. So by the time you get to the end of the curriculum, you're going to be doing your digraph blends, THR, CHR, which is another advanced concept, which is great for the first grade. Again, more handwriting practice, filling in the lines. And then by the time you get to this part here, you're going to have, for example, the story here, A Walk to the Creek. It's going to be a very long story. Then you can answer the questions. Again, really just working on the new concepts that they learned. I love that they do that. So that's going to be kind of what the final light unit looks like. Now, I love doing this. I love seeing, I honestly do this to a lot of my curriculum. I love seeing stuff like this and see how far they come, because when you look at the actual story here and see how far he's come in comparison to, this is what he started the year with. He started just doing the beginning sounds and handwriting to now he's doing like the big stories. I just love looking from where we started to where he is now, and I love that. And he hasn't had any trouble or hasn't really had any reading hesitations or anything like that with 110. So I love that. Now I wanted to, oops, sorry for the noise again. I wanted to go ahead and get into the actual teacher's guide. This was actually something that I wasn't really sure about, honestly, because like I said, I completed the entire first 10 light units. Well, there's only 10, but I completed all 10 light units without a teacher guide. And I want to say some pros and cons of doing that. A pro is obviously you can just open this up. It's very self-explanatory. You can just open and go and not have to worry about anything. However, I'm going to mention a few of the things that I did incorrectly, because obviously I did not have the teacher guide telling me what things were for. I kind of just assumed. And a couple of the activities that really do need the teacher guide for. The first part here is, let me show you here. I'm going to open up to lesson 1 of the actual beginning sounds part. Is this first sound here. So your new sound is your letter D. Well, I didn't know that in the teacher guide there's actually a story that goes along with a new sound. So you're going to read the story to your kiddos. So now I'm going to open this up and kind of show you how it corresponds together. So you open it up, here's your lesson 2, your new sound in your teacher guide. It's going to give you the objective of what the objective of the lesson is. It's going to give you kind of your class preparation, which for this one is the D card with the duck. Now I don't have that. It's going to give you the word flashcard, which all the word flashcards are numbered. So you're going to pull out 101-2 and kind of get that stuff ready. And then every single part of your teacher guide is going to have your listening to a story part, which here it's going to tell you, well, on page 6, which is page 6 down here, it's going to tell you that this is the story that you're going to read out loud. And so this is the part that I was missing when I did not have the teacher guide. So this is the story of Debbie the Duck. You read the entire story. And then I did not realize, but on page number 7 here, so I'm going to flip over to page 7, is what I didn't realize is this part down here. I didn't even realize what these were for. Now what I did when it came to the coloring page of the new sound, I was like, well, D is for duck. What color would you like the duck to be? For some reason, she just liked coloring it with pencil. But she's like, okay, well, what name do you want to call the duck? And so we would ask questions about the duck, but I really didn't realize what these pictures were really for, but they all have a story about Debbie Duck. So in this regard, when it comes to the actual new letter sounds and when it comes to the stories, a teacher guide is necessary if you want to do this read aloud part. But in order to really answer or look at these pictures and do that correctly, so for example, you read the story of Debbie Duck, and then on here it says which animal here, so on line number 1, which animal says quack? So you draw a circle around quack. Now you're going to say, look at the next row of pictures. What did Donna and Dale like to watch? So, sorry for the noise again. You get all the answers to really what to ask your student by reading this story. So you could do it that way, or you can make up your own story if you want to save on the cost of purchasing these. You can make up your own story about Little Duck and then kind of incorporate these pictures into your own story if you just want to make it up on the spot. And that was the biggest thing that I was missing for not really realizing what these were for. I kind of just had them circle the beginning letters and the beginning sounds of each picture. But yeah, that's what the teacher guide is necessary for, to actually do the actual pictures and exercises. So in my opinion, it's necessary to do all the actual things. But if you don't really care about following the actual story, if you want to make up your own storyline as long as it all matches and flows together, then that's another option. The other thing that I did not do correctly is, for example, let me pull it up here, is on page 8, it says to write all the beginning letter sounds for each item. Now I did it incorrectly because I didn't realize you were not supposed to write a letter sound if it did not start with D. So our letter for the day was D, and so if you pick out the items that do not start with a D, then we're not supposed to write the letters. I, however, did not know that. I did not have a teacher guide, so I just had them write in all the letters, the beginning sounds. To me, it's not a make or break thing because it's just extra practice at that point. I really don't care if they went ahead and wrote the house and the fish and everything like that. But the objective was just to have them write the D. So that's another thing that I did miss by not having the actual teacher guide. So a few other things I wanted to highlight in the teacher guide is, if you go back to the beginning here, you're going to have the introduction to learning to read. And throughout your actual course books, you're going to have a big triangle, little triangle, and then of course 2 little circles there. And what all that is, it's telling you as a teacher or your teacher assistant, because this was a curriculum designed to be taught at multiple students at a time, so like a classroom setting. These little symbols, so for example, this right here, is really for you as a teacher to sign off on. That's all that is. So if that really is something that, if you are in a classroom setting, this is just telling, hey, do not do this until a teacher comes, and yeah, that's just for your initials. So you can use that or you cannot. But that's what those symbols are for. And of course, I didn't have this the first time around, so I didn't realize it. And it's going to show you the kind of like the primers, the components of learning to read, which that all information like that is on the website. I do like the idea of having a little smiley face. So every time they have a handwriting page, let me go back here, you're supposed to put like a little smiley face up in the corner. That way they know that they go towards the smiley face. So if you put it up here, they always go left. So we'll draw towards the smiley face, things like that. So that's what that's for. And then of course down here, it's going to have other little symbols that you're going to see throughout the book. The little teacher, of course, designates activities that require teacher participation, designates activities that they can do on their own, things like that. So it's just going to take you through a whole bunch of little paragraphs on how to do the blends, phrases, and sentences, things like that. It's also going to give you some pointers on how to do tests, evaluating reading skills, and things like that. It's also going to have a page for your reading assessment. So you can kind of go through the story and you can rate them 1 through 5 on where they are at. You can rate them on word recognition, phrasing, expression, things like that when it comes to reading. And then you also have a spot down here. Again, this is designed for a classroom, so you don't have to do this, but this is also for if you do want to rate them and see where they are in their reading. One of my favorite things about the teacher guide, which like I said, I did not have before, that is the actual outline of learning to read. This is going to tell you really kind of lesson by lesson what you are going to be working on, and I love that. So for example, lesson 1, of course, is listening skills. You're going to have the Debbie Duck thing that we did, but the thing that I like is it actually incorporates like your primer story. So for your light unit 102, starting in lesson 3, that's when you're going to get out your beginning primer. So the beginning primer is this one right here. This is the We Live. So you're going to open this up to the first story, which is We Live, and then At the Dam. And the stories start extremely basic, but I love that they do this because it gives the student really a good feel for how books work. So At the Dam, the pictures are just hand-drawn sketches, so very simple, but they are beautifully done. And of course, they're also incorporating the sight words that they learned for that day. But I love the actual outline because it tells you exactly what stories to read when, and I didn't really have this. I kind of just opened up the primer and kind of just, I guess you can say winged it by seeing where they were at, and I knew that this was their sight words that they were at, and that's just kind of what I did, and it worked without the teacher guide. I also did want to preface that if you don't want to use the extra expense of buying the 2 teacher guides, then it worked beautifully without it as well. These were the couple of things that I did miss, so I wanted to share them with you, and then you guys can kind of make the decision on whether or not they want to work for you. Anyway, so it just continues on the outline learning to read. You go through the entire program, and again with all of your primer stories in line here. This is another part that I like. This is the daily schedule for the first semester. If you are doing all of these subjects down here, so you're doing learning to read, language arts, reading, Bible, math, this is fantastic because it will rotate days on what you do, and it will even give you the exact lesson to do for that day. So learning to read, you're going to start with 101, lesson 1, math 101, lesson 1. You don't do Bible that day. Then you're going to continue on day 2, you're going to do learning to read, and you're going to do math. But on the lesson 3, then you're going to add in Bible, but you don't do Bible every day. You only do it every 3 days or every 2 days or every other day. So I love the outline. So if you are wanting to do all 5 subjects, so if you're wanting to do Bible with this, and just Bible is the extra one here, then that is a great rotation for that. And then this will also show you exactly when you need to start doing your language arts 1, which is in week 10. That's when you'll start that. So this daily schedule, if you are doing all of the CLE core subjects, is wonderful. I love this, and this is actually something that I do wish that I kind of had, because it would kind of take out the whole guesswork of when to add stuff in, when to start language arts. Even though the Scope of Sequence online does have all that information available, it is just so nice to have this all in one spot. So this would be the daily schedule for your entire first semester, and then this is the daily schedule for your entire second semester. So I do love that they have that in the thing. And then you just go, after that, you're straight into your light unit 101 and the guide to kind of take you through that. So overall, I would say yes, the teacher guide is necessary to complete everything as far as, from A to Z if you want to do those stories. If you do not mind kind of making up your own stories in these books like I did, then it's really up to you as the teacher. Again, I did do all 10 light units without using a teacher guide, and it worked fine. So really up to you on what you're comfortable with. I would highly recommend getting this though if you are a first-time homeschooler, and honestly, even if you're brand new to not just homeschooling, I'm sorry, but brand new to the curriculum in general, I do recommend getting this because it is nice, and I think I am going to actually enjoy this using it the second time with my soon-to-be first grader, even though she's already started this. So she is in light unit 103, so we are actually going to pick up where we left off in light unit 103 and then continue the actual stories. So for her, where we are right now is light unit 103, so I'm going to be able to start tomorrow. I'm going to start incorporating this to kind of just to see how it flows for us, because this really is a new thing for me as far as reading the story that goes along with this. So I'm not just going to be making up a story, but see how it all goes together. But yeah, that is kind of how the teacher guide is laid out. In the back here, you're going to have some enrichment activities that you can cut out and kind of do with your kiddos. So vowel practice, you can cut these out and have some games. And then in the back, you're also going to have a lot of different game options to do with them. And then you'll have more reading assessment activities and pages back here, more alternate light unit tests. Now, to be honest, our state actually does not require testing. So if I know that their concepts are down, I really don't do extra testing. I just make sure they have the concepts down. That's just a personal preference of mine, but every state is different on what they require their students. So depending on yours, you could do that or you can skip over them. And again, it's just an extra day's work. So it depends whether or not they need to have extra practice for the test, but they do have all those in the back as well. And this again is just the teacher guide for the first half of the light units, and the second part is laid out the exact same way. Well guys, thank you so much for being here and for watching today's video. I hope you got a good idea of what this curriculum is about. My next video, which will be up either tomorrow or the day after, is going to be the Language Arts 1 and the Reading Arts 1 flip through. So until then, I hope you guys have a great day, whatever you're doing, and God bless. Bye.